When we understand our own feelings, we can also express ourselves more clearly to others, fostering stronger and also meaningful relationships. It helps when conflicts arise and enables us to empathetically listen to others.
Hey there, my name is Dr. Beth Russell, and I want to know, what would you do if you were not afraid? Right now, what would your life, your job, your relationships look and feel like if you could be unapologetically you? What's holding you back? This podcast is for anyone that wants to make a change but isn't sure where to start. Let's look inward together and let's talk about you and me, our mental health, our self-care, inner and outer selves, and all that makes us, well, us. It's time to get real, feel the feels, challenge what's holding us back, and connect. This is the Authentic and Brave podcast.
If you've ever been to therapy, you've probably been asked the question, how does that make you feel? In fact, it's often joked about in the therapy world, but that's all you get asked. And while therapy is more than just how you feel, being able to identify at any moment how you feel is an important part of life and relationships. So today we're going to focus on emotions, a tiny bit on feelings, emotional intelligence, and my favorite tool for helping you identify what's going on inside to be able to bravely express yourself and live more authentically. So let's get started. Recently, I was talking with a friend about her desire to leave her job. She was telling me all of the changes in her organization and that it's just not a very good place to work anymore. I asked her how she feels about leaving, and she answered with, well, it's mixed. Part of me wants to stay because I used to enjoy going in every day, but now I don't. I wonder sometimes if maybe something is wrong with me and that I want to do something new and maybe I shouldn't want that. Can you see what happened here? I asked her how she feels about leaving, and what she gave me was what she thinks about leaving. She didn't say how she feels. She did it in kind of a roundabout manner, but not directly. Does this sound familiar to you? Do you ever have trouble just identifying what you feel and saying the emotion that goes with it? Is your brain trained to take over in that moment and explain what you're thinking about what you're feeling as opposed to what you're really feeling? If you answered yes to any of these, you're not alone. Growing up, many of us receive societal and cultural messages about feelings and emotions. We learn that being vulnerable is a sign of weakness, that discussing how we feel is uncomfortable, and that we should avoid it. For some, we learn to suppress our own emotions so that we can tend to others and their emotions over our own. It's that attachment versus authenticity conundrum I discuss in episode 1 of this podcast. Sometimes we avoid talking about how we feel because we've been judged in the past or even rejected by others. We worry that expressing certain emotions, especially those we label as bad or negative, such as anger, disgust, or even sadness, makes us look weak, overly sensitive, or irrational. And so, for these and so many other reasons, we suppress, ignore, and avoid how we feel. The problem is, then we often are left feeling lonely, anxious, confused, or even stuck. Understanding our emotions and that there are no good or bad emotions, there's just emotions, and how we feel about something is data. Data that can help us make decisions, feel safe, move towards mental wellness, and more, move us toward being our authentic selves. So in talking with my friend, I listened empathetically and asked her again, how do you feel about leaving? And because she knows me so well, she laughed. Are you doing that thing again, trying to get me to answer with an emotion? I'm on to you, she said and laughed out loud. And then she told me how mad she was feeling at being left out of all the changes that were happening in her organization, sad that she wants to leave, and her fear at what's next. In that moment, she allowed herself to be vulnerable and allowed me also to open up about some things I've been holding in about my own work and some of the decisions that I'm going to need to make. And really how I've been feeling about having to make those decisions. Her vulnerability opened me up to be vulnerable. And that's what can happen when we're in touch with what we're feeling and sharing them with others. Okay, so when you're asked, what are you feeling? What happens? Do you have any sensations in your body? If so, where? Are you able to label those sensations with an emotion or a feeling? Do you know the difference? The terms emotions and feelings are often used interchangeably, but there is a subtle distinction between the two. Emotions are automatic and instinctive reactions, while feelings are our conscious experiences and thoughts about those reactions. We're going to spend a little bit of time kind of dissecting both. So first, let's talk about emotions. We often experience emotions directly in our body. For example, when you're packing your bag for a vacation, your heart pounds with excitement. Whereas anxiety might tighten your muscles and make your hands sweat and tremble before a first date. Emotions are closely linked with the cardiovascular, skeletal-muscular, neuroendocrine, and automatic nervous systems in our bodies. These certain emotions, or rather sensations, are experienced in very particular areas of our body. Okay, so just to recap, emotions are automatic and instinctive reactions that happen in our bodies. They're quick, reflex responses that we don't have a lot of control over. For example, have you ever felt scared when you see a spider? It's not something that you're necessarily thinking about. You see it and you react. You feel that emotion in your body of fear. Are you a fan of young adult fiction, magic, and adventure? Then you won't want to miss Kindreds, the thrilling new fantasy novel from author B.B. Russell. Join our heroine, 16-year-old Lila, after the death of her last living relative when she reconnects with a boy named Joey from her childhood who harbors a secret. Needing to know what it is, Lila follows him and finds herself in Carnival Noliana, a disappearing world of magic and wonder, hidden just beyond the veil of the ordinary that is looking for 10 new members. With Noliana set to disappear at the end of Masquerade in 4 days, Lila must decide if she should follow her heart and Joey into Noliana for good, or trust her instincts and intellect that Noliana may not be what it seems. With unforgettable characters, a battle between listening to one's head or one's heart, and heart-pounding action, Kindreds is the perfect choice for anyone who loves young adult fantasy. So don't wait, pick up your copy today and embark on an epic adventure you won't soon forget. Kindreds by B.B. Russell is now available at your favorite bookstore or at www.authenticandbrave.com/kindreds, KINDREDS. There are many different theories of emotions and how many exist. Most research agrees on there being 6 primary emotions. They are joy, which can also be happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. These basic emotions can combine and interact with others to form more complex emotions and a wide range of emotional experiences. For example, love, guilt, shame, pride, envy, and awe are considered complex emotions that emerge from combinations or variations of those 6 basic emotions. Some theories, such as Paul Ekman's influential research on facial expressions, suggest that these basic emotions are universal across cultures and have distinct facial expressions associated with them. It's important to note that the study of emotions is a complex and evolving field, and different theories and models propose different categorizations and variations. Additionally, cultural and individual differences can influence how emotions are perceived, expressed, and experienced. The more I study emotions and talk with clients about how they experience them, the more I am aware that emotions are closely linked with the different systems of our body. It's very common when I'm working with someone that I ask them what they feel, and they answer with, "I don't know," or they answer with what they think. For some reason, we shy away from talking about how we feel. And if you think about it, it's in part because somewhere along the way, we learn that talking about our emotions make us weak, as I mentioned before. Each of us learns about emotions in school, and today's educational system places much more focus on social emotional learning and the needs of children than we ever had in decades before. In a groundbreaking study published by PNAS, the Proceedings of the National Academy of the Sciences of the United States of America, researchers provide a bodily map of where specific emotions are experienced in the body that they have found consistent across people. This map reveals where we feel specific sensations when a particular emotion arises. For example, according to the research, when a person is feeling anger, We often feel sensations in our hands, our arms, and our upper body, sometimes even at the pit of our stomach. These sensations can include heat, increased blood pressure, muscle tension, and changes in our breathing, among others. Have you ever been so mad that you clench your fists? That is the impulse and the activation of anger in our bodies. So while we may have difficulty identifying what emotion we're feeling, if we tune into our body, the sensations can clue us in. If we pay attention to where they are, we may be able to map out what we're feeling and then give voice to it. I will link the bodily map in my show notes and in the freebies on my website if you're interested in knowing more. It's really fascinating research, and it really gives us a good picture, a literal map of what we feel and where. Knowing what each primary emotion feels like in our body can help us to learn to label our experiences correctly when describing what's going on inside. The conscious subjective experiences that arise in response to emotions are called feelings. Feelings are the mental interpretations or the conscious awareness of our emotional states. So we often will answer with feeling words that really, when you boil down, go down to the 6 primary emotions. But feelings are the labels that we give often to what we're experiencing. They're more subjective and can be influenced by personal experiences, thoughts, and cultural factors. They are often more long-lasting and can persist even after the initial emotional response has subsided. So sometimes the anger, we're feeling anger, the emotion of anger, and the sensations have gone, but the mental appraisal of being frustrated or annoyed is still staying with us. And so the feeling is annoyed, though the initial emotion was anger. Understanding our feelings are important for several reasons. Understanding our own feelings allow us to have a better understanding of ourselves. It helps us identify and recognize our emotions, which can provide valuable insights into our needs, desires, and values. Self-awareness also allows us to make more informed decisions and take appropriate actions based on our emotional states and feelings. It can also help us regulate our emotions and manage them effectively. This involves recognizing and acknowledging the emotions underneath the feelings, understanding their underlying causes, and finding healthy ways to express or cope with them. Emotional regulation helps prevent impulsive reactions and allows for more thoughtful and adaptive responses to challenging situations. If you are in or have ever been in a relationship, you know that understanding how you feel and how your partner or other person feels is directly related to the health of your relationship. Understanding your own feeling enhances our ability to empathize with others and understand their emotional experiences as well. In turn, it can help us communicate better with our partners. It can deepen our connections with family, loved ones, friends, just as it did with my friend. And it can help us have more compassionate interactions.
Are you tired of feeling held back by fear? It's time to break free and live life unafraid. Are you ready to get real? Spend some time journaling and coloring to face what's holding you back? Introducing the 30 Days to Unafraid Coloring Affirmation Journal. Color away and process your fears with empowering mandalas for self-care. This journal is your roadmap to conquering fear and embracing change with confidence. Don't let fear control your life any longer. Order your copy of 30 Days Unafraid today and take the first steps towards a life without limits. Visit www.authenticandbrave.com/unafraid or find the journal 30 Days Unafraid Coloring Affirmation Journal on Amazon. It's time to unleash your potential and live unafraid. Get your copy now.
When we understand our own feelings, we can also express ourselves more clearly to others, fostering stronger and also meaningful relationships. It helps when conflicts arise and enables us to empathetically listen to others. Ignoring or suppressing our feelings can lead to emotional distress and negatively impacting our mental well-being. Understanding and acknowledging our feelings promotes emotional authenticity and allows for healthy emotional processing. And overall, it can help us reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, and then leading to overall improved psychological health. Understanding our feelings and emotions is often referred to as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions and the emotions of others. It plays a key part in our lives, in our businesses, in schools, in family systems, in any system that we are in. It involves being aware of and empathetic towards others' feelings, effectively expressing and controlling our own emotions, and using emotional information to guide our thinking and our behavior. It's important because it aids us in handling stress, adapting to change, and maintaining positive mental health. We then have a greater sense of self-awareness, allowing us to understand our world in a different way. People with high emotional intelligence are generally more skilled at resolving conflicts, collaborating with others, and building trust and rapport. Having it can increase our leadership skills, social awareness skills, and increase overall success and performance in professional settings. In a nutshell, developing and cultivating emotional intelligence can lead to a more fulfilling and successful life in both personal and professional realms. Okay, so we've talked a lot about emotions and feelings. Now let's talk about a great tool that was created to help us understand ourselves and our emotions. This is a tool that I use with my own children, myself, and my clients. It helps me to identify, label, and express what's going on inside of me. The tool is called Ruler, R-U-L-E-R. Ruler stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating. It's an evidence-based approach to social and emotional learning that was originally created to promote emotional intelligence and well-being in schools. It was developed by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and it's an acronym that stands for the 5 core principles that I just shared. It incorporates a variety of tools, strategies, and resources for implementing social emotional learning practices in schools, including for adults as well in professional development, curricula for students, and family engagement. And I'm sharing with you because it's also for adults. Just like kids, we need to understand our emotions, and this tool is a great way to help us do that. The primary goal of creating Ruler was to cultivate the emotional intelligence skills of children and adults. So I'm going to go through the different components now again. Again, it's recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions. Recognizing is the first step. In recognizing our emotions, we become aware of our own emotions and the emotions of others. This involves paying attention to our emotional experiences, just what we talked about earlier, the body. What is going on in your body? What sensations are you feeling? Where in your body are you feeling something? Next is understanding. In this step, we need to understand the causes and the consequences of our emotions. What's triggering us? What are we thinking about? How are the emotions impacting our thoughts and our behaviors and our relationships? Understanding what's going on. The third step is labeling. This is the part where we then label our emotions accurately and precisely. Notice that labeling didn't happen first. First, we had to recognize and understand what was going on in our bodies and inside of us. So labeling means using specific and descriptive language to communicate our emotions effectively with others. The fourth step is expressing our emotions in a healthy and constructive way. So often people feel like they have to express everything right away, but really the first 3 steps are foundation to helping us effectively express what it is that's going on. The last component of Ruler is regulating. So after we express it, if you ever notice you have like a surge of emotion inside of you, and sometimes it comes out in ways that maybe aren't always the healthiest, a surge that comes, but it's also then important to regulate. Regulating means to be able to manage the emotions so that they don't interfere with our ability to function effectively in different situations. So again, the steps are recognizing what was going on, understanding what's going on, labeling, expressing, and regulating. You can use this tool whenever you need. It may take a bit of time at first to slow down and go through the order, but after you use it a few times, it becomes much easier and second nature. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and you learned a little bit about your emotions, where they exist in your body, and how you can use Ruler. I'd be so grateful if you would share this episode with anyone who needs it or someone who you think would enjoy it. Please take a moment on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening on and like it. Until next time, keep on being authentic and brave. Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic and Brave podcast. I want to remind our listeners that the content of this podcast is not a substitute for professional therapy or medical advice. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. If you are experiencing mental health issue or any other medical concern, we strongly encourage you to seek help from a licensed professional. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, also called NAMI, helpline is a great resource and can be reached at 1-800-950-NAMI or 1-800-950-6264.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Authentic and Brave podcast. If you want more, head over to theauthenticandbravepodcast.com for show notes and sign up for the mailing list so you'll never miss an episode. If you're looking for inspiration, connection, and people like you and me, be sure to join my exclusive community on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at authenticandbravepodcast.com. This is Dr. Beth Russell signing off. See you next time.